This is Keith Lee, and welcome to How to Get Customers to Come Back Time and Time Again and Enthusiastically Tell Others About You. Again, this is Keith, and I'm the author of 2 books on customer service, Out Nordstrom, Creating the World's Best Customer Service, and my new book, The Happy Customer Handbook, 59 Secrets to Creating Happy Customers Who Come Back Time and Time Again and Enthusiastically Tell Others About You. In just a few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to the manager of a business that's been using Out Nordstrom customer service in their business for about 6 years. And I'm going to introduce you to another guy who's an owner of a business who's been using Out Nordstrom customer service for somewhere around 20 years now. Is that about right, Rolf?
That is right.
Okay, I'll introduce you in a minute. You should see a little box to the right of your screen that says questions. As we go, I'd love to hear from you. If you have questions for either me or Rolf or Boomer, who I'll introduce you to in just a minute, type your questions in there and love to have them. So let's jump right in. First off, why is customer service so important? You know, luckily you guys are on the call here, so I don't have to spend a lot of time telling you why I think customer service is so important. If you didn't think it was important, you wouldn't be here. But here's from U.S. News and World Report. U.S. News and World Report says that 68% of customers who stop buying from one business and go to another do so because of poor or indifferent customer service. And they say 14% leave because of an unsatisfactory result, dispute or complaint, 9% leave because of price, 5% go elsewhere based on a recommendation, 1% die, and that means that if you add up those first two, 82% go somewhere else because of a customer service issue. Now, you take U.S. News Report and put it together with the Harvard Business Review that says that if you can increase your bottom line profit by 25 to 95% if you can prevent 5% of your customers from leaving. So you put those two things together. 82% leave because of a customer service issue. That's the ones that leave your business. And but if you can prevent 5% of them from leaving, you can increase your bottom line profits by 25 to 95%. That means we got a huge opportunity. And, you know, today with the customer service or lack thereof, this is just a huge opportunity for all of us in business. You know, and every industry, I don't care what you are, it has its version of David versus Goliath. You know, I'll take the retail industry here as an example. You know, they've got their national chains, they've got their big box stores, they've got their category killers, discounters, the internet, and now there's Amazon, who wants to own everything and everybody. And it's not just retail; it's in every category. I don't care if you're a dentist, if you're a lawyer, if you're an insurance agent, whatever you're in. There is some type of Goliath in your industry that's trying to put you out of business and take it all. And I like to say for the small business owner and the small business that customer service is your sling. It's the thing that can make the difference in your business in really staying in business and thriving when you still have these giants around that are trying to put you out of business. But one of the things that we're not going to talk about here today is we're not going to talk about customer service in a box. This customer service that all of us see all the time that is, I don't know how much training is even done with it, but it's so scripted and it's so rote, and there's nothing behind it other than words. And we're going to talk about that here in a bit, quite extensively, actually. So we're not talking about customer service in a box. I told you that you could get your free book if you come on board here today, and yes, you can. You may or may not know, but in GoToWebinar, you obviously signed up with an email And in GoToWebinar, they know, the big daddy there knows who's on the line and who's not on the line. And frankly, we get a report afterwards that's going to show us everybody that showed up. And everybody that showed up and stayed till the end, I'm going to send you a link to go get my new book, The Happy Customer Handbook, for free. And not only the book for free, but we'll be more than happy to pay the postage also. So just hang in there and you'll get your free book. Let's introduce some people. I couldn't help but grab this picture off the internet, Rolf.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So first off, by the way, this is Rolf doing some great marketing. And Rolf, I'm sure it is. It's probably your 12 Days of Christmas promotion, Rolf?
I hope so.
Yeah, it's not your everyday thing, huh? Rolf has Gerald's up in Ellensburg, Washington. And Rolf, why don't you just really quickly tell us about what Gerald's is?
Well, we are a family-owned department store. We were started in 1947 by my grandparents as a soda fountain. We have evolved into an office supply store very similar to Staples, where we do a tremendous amount of business. Almost a third of our business is done online, direct to businesses, where we deliver it ourselves using the out Nordstrom's customer service, so that we set ourselves apart from our competitors that way. We also do art, we do gift, we do books, we do some collegiate. We're next to Central Washington University, so we do clothing. What did I miss, Chrissy?
Hobby.
Oh, and hobby and models.
Yeah. So the reason I use this one picture, though, down below here is that that's in process, if you will, or in building, picture of Rolf adding 5,000 square feet to their facility there in Ellensburg. And he's done that at the same time that basically anybody who's, not anybody, the huge majority of people who have been in his business in the past are literally out of business, but yet he's adding on and remodeling to add on an additional 5,000 square feet. So here's Rolf. Here's probably a better picture of what he would like, and this is pretty much the facility redone, right, Rolf?
Yep.
Yep. Excellent. Welcome, and thanks so much for being here. Our next guest is Boomer Wright with Sea Lion Caves in Florence, Oregon. Boomer, introduce yourself a little bit and what you do and where you're at, and really quickly, if you would.
Hi, well, I'm Boomer Wright. I'm the general manager at Sea Lion Caves. We are a privately owned wildlife preserve and bird sanctuary just 11 miles north of Florence, Oregon.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And thank you, Boomer, so much. I realized after I got him on the phone that we probably have his busiest time of year right now, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here. You know,
it's an honor to be here.
Oh, great. And you know, I do think it speaks to your customer service. You're able to be away from the front line there, busiest time of day, busiest time of year, and take some time out to be here. So thanks so much.
Well, you bet.
Really appreciate that.
If I have to be here 24 hours a day, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah, good enough. Good. Yeah. So what is out Nordstrom customer service? It's customer service that's so good that people come back time and time again and enthusiastically tell others about you. Now, out Nordstrom got its start because in our business, and one of the things I teach in our customer service is that you should have some simple things to remember that your team remembers. And a number of years ago, one of those real simple things for us to remember is that we wanted to out Nordstrom. And we wanted to have customer service that was better than Nordstrom, you know, and we actually picked that name when Nordstrom had the huge reputation of customer service. We're a Seattle-based company, so we thought that worked really well in reminding our team. And again, that's one of the things in customer service as a manager is you want to have some very simple things. So that's where the out Nordstrom name came from. The reality is that is no longer one of our simple things to remember. We have 3 things to remember that we want to do all the time here. That's no longer one of them, and the reason is that You know, if we didn't do that every day in, day out, if we didn't deliver at Nordstrom-type customer service, I'd really be disappointed. And so the reality is that I think that we've surpassed, maybe not surpassed Nordstrom customer service, but it's not a goal anymore, that's for sure. Our goal is to be the best customer service, period. Not the best in our industry, but wow our customers with customer service all the time. So I'm going to ask, I'll let Boomer go first. Since Boomer, you've only been at this Nordstrom customer service, out Nordstrom for about 6 years. I'll let you go first, and Rolf, you won't be able to pick his then, but if you could pick, so I might put you on the spot. Rolf, Boomer, if you could pick just one thing out of Nordstrom customer service to teach your team, what would that one thing be?
Well, the number one item that I teach day one and probably every day that I'm here is to remember who's the boss. Because everything we do or don't do, everything we say or don't say, everything we plan or don't plan, everything we buy or don't buy, and everything we plan or don't plan, it's all about the customer. And, you know, customers hear your attitude. That's what that's all about. So we strive to be basically a successful business. But the main thing is that we want to be of value to our customers. So I teach my people that the most important people that we have walk in that door every day, and we treat them with respect, and we greet them, and we want them to leave here feeling like they've got $1 million service.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So you teach them who's the boss. Now I told. I'm going to wait on that a little bit longer because I told everybody I was going to share with you, I think it was the 235 most important words in customer service.
Right.
And Boomer and Rolf, if I had asked you that, I think both of you probably could have figured out what those 235 words are. But it's written, I don't know what it is. It's prose. It describes who's the boss. And we're going to cover that a little bit later here. I'm not going to go over those 235 words right now. We'll cover it a little bit later. But that's great, Boomer. And
yeah, we have that. We have that poster. It's right above our ticket desk. It's in the cave. It's down in our staff room. So, you know, we're on the line all the time with that. People come in and read it and go, really? And I say, really? That's what we do. That's who we care about.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really suggest is you take who's the boss, and all of you on the call, I'll tell you where you can get that. And I actually might come with that email about getting the book too, but tell you where you can get that. We have it in every single cubicle. We're the typical office here, and we've got it in every cubicle and everywhere. And that whole idea, if you can get that across, and right up front, share that with people, but then reinforce it like you talked about, Boomer. You reinforce it all the time. If you can get that up front and then reinforce it on an ongoing basis, you're going to be a long ways. And I was not surprised that you chose that one, Boomer. Rolf, how about you? Did Boomer take yours?
Well, actually, he didn't, but when he brought it up, I was like, duh. But the one I would pick would be the piece about communication and the fact that it's, you know, the words you use are really important. You got to have the right words, but it's only 10% of communication. How you say the words, the intonation, is 40%, and that 50% of communication is body language. I think that really is the secret sauce in customer service, and that's what people don't understand is you can say the right words, but I think that's almost like what you referred to as out of the box. That's what you get in some of the corporate places where they say the right words, but they have no intonation and they have no body language.
Yeah, no feeling. You know, one of the
that's
things
right.
we talk. Yeah, and one of the things we talk about in out Nordstrom customer service is that the minimum level of customer service is showing sincere appreciation. That's the minimum level, and then it goes up from there. So as soon as we can teach our team and everyone in our team to show sincere appreciation and that's the minimum level, then we've got something going here. Then and when they actually start then delivering that, that's when you'll get customers coming back time and time again, and not only coming back time and time again, but enthusiastically telling others about you. So great. Those are two excellent ones. And this gets right into that. I told you I was going to share the silent customer service killer that I think is even worse than poor customer service. And that may be an exaggeration that it's worse than poor customer service, but I'll give you a reason that I kind of think it is worse, is that poor customer service, you can see people complain about it. It's right up there in front of you. You can address it and you can change it. And so it's not the silent killer. This is a silent killer, and it's exactly what Rolf was talking about there. When you say the right thing, you've only done 10% of the job. The silent killer is indifference. This whole, I'm going to get my paycheck whether I treat you well or not. I don't really know if I like being here. Actually, I probably don't like being here. I'd much rather be somewhere else. But since I got to serve you, I'll serve you, but I really don't care. Indifference is the killer, and indifference is what we get so often. And I don't have to tell any of you on this call, because you get it all the time. You get it, and in fact, I don't remember where I was, but it wasn't too long ago, and I asked a number of people, how often do you get indifferent customer service more than half the time? And every single hand in the audience went up, that they got indifferent customer service more than half of the time. You know, I frankly, I certainly do, but then I'm a customer service guy, so I kind of have a little, maybe a higher standard of what is even indifferent. But you know, everybody gets that, and indifference is the killer, and that's what you need to train your team on. Things like who's the boss, and what Rolf was talking about, that when you say the right words, you've stolen some thunder from me, Rolf, in my presentation here. But when you say the right words, you've only done 10% of your job, and again, get those little things across, these little kind of things that stay in their mind, that, oh, you only do 10% of the job when you say the right things. Oh, out Nordstrom, those kind of things. You know, sometimes people complain about bad service, but people don't complain about indifferent customer service. They just don't come back. And here's an example of that. I was at a place getting chicken one time, and listen to these words. The words were, thank you, and see, I'm not even going to try and say it with as little emotion as this person said, because I can't. I've tried to do it before, and I can't say it with that little emotion. But there's nothing wrong with these words. Listen to them. Thank you for coming to Betty's Fried Chicken. Can I take your order? Will that be original, crispy, extra crispy, or barbecue? What two sides would you like? You can choose from any of the two sides on the menu behind me. Thank you for your order. Absolutely nothing wrong with those words, right? There was no eye contact, none whatsoever, no voice inflection, no smile, no appreciation whatsoever, even to the point that in this case, the clerk tried to give my change to the person behind me. That's how little that they paid attention to me, nor cared whether I was there or not. So again, this whole thing that Rolf talked about, that communication, 50% is body language, 40% is tone, and 10% are words. Now, we even tell that to our people here on the phone. We do most of our customer service over the phone, but I will tell you without question, body language comes in over the phone, a smile comes in over the phone, obviously tone comes in over the phone. So we even tell people here at American Retail Supply that you've only done 10% of the job when you use the right words. So again, we talk about the minimum level of customer service is sincere appreciation, never, ever indifference, sincere appreciation. Now, when I talk to business owners, the biggest excuse that I hear for them having poor customer service is, I can't hire good help. But
What a cop-out.
Somebody's laughing there. Who's laughing?
That's Boomer.
Now, here's the problem with I can't hire good help, and that's what Boomer's laughing about right now. He's hiring the same people you are. Rolf is hiring the same people you are. Everyone who tells me they can't hire good help also has poor or no customer service training, and certainly no ongoing reminders. Certainly they don't have who's the boss up by every ticket counter and up by every checkout stand and in every cubicle. So, that excuse doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. If that's an excuse that you hear or you use, I can tell you, you're not doing your customer service training. Now, can you get every single person up to being everything you want? Maybe not, but you can do really well. And I told you about getting your free book. Again, you'll get directions on how to get your free book. We'll get them off of the results we get from GoToWebinar, and we'll send you instructions to get your free book, the Happy Customer Handbook. So, Boomer and Rolf, I'll let you go first this time. How about now, we talked about it for your team. If you could pick one thing out of Nordstrom to teach your team, what it would be. And Rolf, you talked about, you've only done 10% when you've said the right words. And Boomer, you talked about who's the boss. Rolf, what about your managers and yourself? What would be the one thing that you would pick?
That you need to be a coach, a mentor, a nurturer of champions. You need to catch them doing it right, not wrong. We're not cops. We're not naysayers. We're not devil's advocates.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And that's when you make that change, and some of that gets into some of the management stuff that we have too, but it's certainly what we talk about in customer service, is that you need to train them. You need to be their coach, their facilitator, their nurturer of champions. That means you need to train them rather than catching them doing things wrong, catching them doing things right. Do you have any story at all about catching them doing things right, Rolf? I'm going to put you on the spot there. What do you mean by catching? What do you mean by catching them?
You know that it's not easy. It really is hard to focus. It's really easy to focus on the exceptions, right? You hear something wrong and you go, oh my God, we got to go do this. But to go, wow, you answered the phone, great, that's wonderful. But that is one thing I do. When I call the store and they answer the phone and they have that smile on that I can hear through the phone, I always tell them, that was a great job answering the phone.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. Hey, Boomer, how about you? If you could pick one thing out of Nordstrom to teach your managers, what would it be?
Well, great minds think alike. There's no doubt about that, and that is treating our staff as internal customers, with the concept that the better we train them, the better we treat them, the better we support the staff, the better they'll serve our customers. And that's what that's all about. I have a suggestion box downstairs, and we get all kinds of things coming in, pros and cons. And as you know well, Keith, the people who write negative and positive are your loyal customers because they care enough to let you know what's going on. And I take those things, and if there's a comment written there about a certain individual, then I put it out in a memo that it's been there. Or I'll to be very honest, sometimes I'll just walk downstairs and hand them a $20 bill and say, thank you. You made a loyal customer today, and that's worth a heck of a lot of money. Here, go home and have some dinner on Boomer.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. And the idea of the internal customer is critical to Nordstrom customer service. And that is that, our customers, our external customers, if you will, are what we all think of as our customers. But when we talk about Nordstrom or the Happy Customer Handbook, we also talk about the internal customer. And the internal customer is anyone who depends on the quality of your job, which means it's every coworker you have. In our case, it's the FedEx guy. It's the mailman even. Our internal customers are also our vendors who supply us things. If we look at those people as customers and that we know that they can't do their job properly unless we do our job properly, that's critically important when it comes to getting things done right. And we talk about that often. We talk about the internal customer and making sure that they're not just a coworker, they're your customer. And that's critically important. And Boomer, you also hit on it too when you said complaints. The people who complain are your best customers, and most people just walk away and go somewhere else when they don't get the kind of customer service that they want.
Exactly.
When you have somebody that complains about either your customer service or anything, a product, anything else, those are gold. One of my good friends, Lee Miltier, calls complaints a gift. They're your gift to do two things primarily. Number one, to take care of that client right then and there, to help them, to fix them, to make sure that they know. It's really your ability to wow them when they have a complaint. We love. Nobody really likes to get complaints, but we think it's our time to shine. When we get a complaint, it's our time to shine and wow the client to make sure that they understand that, oh my gosh, if I had this happen somewhere else, I wouldn't have this kind of results in it if it happened somewhere else. And then the other part of complaints is it gives you a chance to go back to your systems. One of the things we talk about is to look at your systems first rather than to look at your people. So if you have a problem happening in your business, the first thing that you want to do is you want to look at the systems. Was there a system in the way? Was there or a lack of a system, a lack of anything in writing, type of thing that needs to be resolved or trained differently first, and then look at retraining the individual. But again, those complaints give you two opportunities. Number one, to take care of that client. Number two, to go back and then change your system so it doesn't happen to another person again. So we love complaints. One of the things that happens when you implement this kind of customer service, you get those complaints because people care enough to complain. They know that it's not normal for you, so they'll tell you when your service or your products or whatever were abnormally low. And Boomer, you talked about what we call attaboys and attagirls down there. One of the things that we do and one of the things we teach in Out Nordstrom customer service is to do attaboys and attagirls. And we used to call them something else. We used to call them some stuff. And one day one of the people up here put attaboy in the subject line of the email, and we started calling them attaboys and attagirls. And that is, as a manager, you for sure want to do this, but then you want to get your team to do it too. And that is, anytime that they see somebody give extraordinary Out Nordstrom customer service, either internal or external great customer service, they put that out to everybody else. Now, we're all on email, so we put that out via email. And we could have an email coming from the sales department that goes out to everybody again, but it may be somebody in sales giving a big pat on the back to somebody in purchasing that helped them get something done that needed to be done. Or somebody often it's a sales manager, for instance, that sees somebody that's done a great job and taking care of a customer, and that'll go in there. Or it can be even going the other way. It can be purchasing, going back to somebody and saying, man, I know that was a difficult order to try and get everything, all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. Thanks for doing that so well. But this becomes infectious. It ends up being like a good disease because people start complimenting each other, and then all of a sudden it kind of grows, and people are looking for those compliments to give each other, and people are looking to do more and more better customer service. So why is customer service so poor, and how to make sure it's never poor in your business? What should your customer service training look like? I do a lot of talking on customer service to various groups and whatever, and I ask this question almost every time. It says, what should your customer service look like? We tell our staff to deliver good customer service. They should know what that is. We tell our staff to deliver good customer service and give some examples sometimes, but nothing formal. We have meetings about customer service once in a while and tell everyone they should give good customer service. All new staff gets customer service training when they are hired. And E, everyone has gone through our customer service training and they are consistently and persistently reminded about our customer service expectations. So I ask that when I do these trainings, talks and wherever I'm going and whatever, and I ask them, what should your customer service look like? And when I go through that, almost everyone says E. It should be, everyone has gone through our customer service training and they are consistently and persistently reminded about our customer service expectations. Now, at Nordstrom.com or wherever we've had our book for sale, we ask them these questions. What describes your customer service? When somebody goes in and buys the book, we ask them, what describes your customer service as it is right now? 2% answer E. So that's why customer service is so poor, is that everybody knows they should have this training that everyone gets, and that the training is the same for everyone, and that it's reinforced all the time. Everyone knows that that's what it should be, but nobody does it. 2% do it. 58% are, we tell our staff to deliver good customer service and give some examples, but nothing formally. No wonder customer service is so poor almost everywhere that we go. And, I'll tell you that I think that customer service is the easiest and least expensive way to differentiate your business. The single most important thing you must do to create happy customers is train your team with your expectations and then reinforce that training. So train them with your expectations and then reinforce that with your training on an ongoing basis in your home. You guys, Boomer and Rolf, you talked about your favorite team member and your favorite manager secrets. We'll go back to Boomer. Boomer, what other thing in out Nordstrom do you comes to mind as something that you'd like to share with the group here?
Well, just to give you a little background, I was an educator for 31 years. I was a teacher at the middle school level, and then a principal at the elementary and middle school level for 18 years, and then lastly was the superintendent of schools here in town. And one of the things that you learn is how to deal with children, otherwise you don't survive. And basically, you were talking about training. Well, the same thing goes for education fields. The first day of school, I forced my teachers to go through the manual, the procedures, the rules, so everybody knew what the expectations are. And until you do that, okay, there is something that said that you can spend minutes in training or you're going to have hours of headaches.
Yeah, good.
And it's just that. Now, my major thing here, you asked me that question to answer it, is share the power. There's an old saying that goes, all of us are smarter than any one of us, and I sure believe that, and I try to surround people who are at least as smart, and that doesn't have to go very far, but at least as smarter, if smarter than I am. But, like you go in and buy a car, nothing that drives me crazy is the salesman has to go back and forth and ask the next guy up, can we do this? Can we do this? Well, here at Sea Lion Caves, I give not only my people the authority, but the responsibility to take care of a problem. They don't need to come in and talk to me and ask if it's okay. As long as that customer walks out of here happy, they got a smile on their face, we've resolved the problem, they've done their job greatly. And on top of that, I may not agree with what they did, and we may talk about it later, But in the midst of all this, I thank them for what they're doing. The customer walked out of here happy, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's great, and I that's why you're able to, in one of the busiest days of your entire year, take over an hour to be out of there, because you know that people are going to take care of things, and that you've given them the power and response. And not only I think you said the word responsibility. So you're not only you're not only want them to do it, you're expecting them to do it. You're expecting them to take care of it. But then the other thing that you talked about is that the training up front, so that they understand that responsibility and that power, and they have an idea of what they can do and not do. But the reality is that I think you probably find, Boomer, and probably you, Rolf, too, that most people will, before they do more than you would ever want them to do, they're going to get uncomfortable and come and ask you. So any of you that are out there thinking that if I give this responsibility to take care of frontline problems, the reality is they'll probably, the number of problems coming to you will drop hugely, and you almost never have to worry about them doing too much, okay? But yet, they're going to take care of that client, and you're not going to have to be taking care of all these problems and issues and everything else. I love it. We've got cordless headphones now here in the office, so every once in a while I'll hear a sales rep walk by my office, and I can hear by what they're saying that there's some kind of issue going on, there's some kind of problem going on, and I just think, oh my gosh, I'm glad I don't have to get involved with that, and they can just take care of it.
Well, lots of times people will walk into your office, your staff, and they'll go, "You've got a problem." And I always go, No, I don't have a problem. I didn't have a problem prior to you walking in here, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll help you with your problem. What do you think you should do? What do you think? And then they tell me, and I go, good idea, take care of it. And eventually, they quit asking because they know that I support what they're doing, and their ideas are good.
Excellent, excellent. So, Rolf, how about one thing out about Nordstrom other than what we've talked about? You got something there?
You got to give me a minute here. I've been scribbling so many notes. This is just tons of great content. So thank you. So let's see. If I were to, one thing for my managers, it would be if an error occurs to look at the system before you look at the person.
Okay.
And then for all of my team members, it would be the Lear process.
Oh, talk to us about the Lear process.
Well, it's the process to use when you have a difficult or perhaps unhappy customer, which does occasionally show up in some of our businesses. And Lear stands for listen to what they have to say and let them say it all. And I think the way you put it in the program is so incredible. The way you say to interrupt them would be rude. And to interrupt them, they're going to start all over again anyway, because anytime we're upset, we always practice what we're going to say, and we practice from the beginning, not the end.
Right.
So just let them say the whole thing.
Yep.
Empathize with them, and then ask them, what can I do to make you happy? And the interesting thing there, as you point out, is they always ask for less than we were willing to give. And then whatever it is, resolve. And, in retail, you kind of already know what it's going to take to make them happy. Yeah. But nevertheless, I think it's just an incredible process to empower people with.
Yeah. And one of the things, I'll put in a couple little notes here. Empathize. One of the biggest, to me, the easiest one to use there for empathize is just simply, wow, I'm sure glad you told me so that we can help you. Wow, I'm sure glad you told me so we can help you. Or I can help you even better than we can help you. And then ask, what can I do to make you happy? Often you don't, what I train people with is, often you don't have to ask. That's just kind of putting more in the way than needs to be in the way. But what's critical is that you do ask it sometimes, but what's critical is that whole attitude of what can I do to make you happy, as much as asking the actual words. But that's a Lear principle, L-E-A-R, listen, empathize, ask, and resolve. And Okay,
Keith,
Boomer brought,
just a comment. You know, we talked about communication. I read on this quote the other day that I now have on my wall and I put down in my staff room, and it says, "The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply." Think about that.
Yep. And I know I do that too often. I know I do it too often. And it's like, what are you going to say next? What am I going to say? Say that again. Listen.
The concept is, the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply.
Yeah, that's excellent.
That's great.
Excellent. I told you all that I was going to share the 235 most powerful words in customer service, and Boomer mentioned this right off the top, so I'm going to share those 235 words with you right now. I don't know where this came from, and I'll make sure that everyone on the call gets this also, though. But it's that whole idea of who's the boss, and again, we have this typed up on nice paper. It's in everybody's QB. Boomer and Rolf, I'm sure you have it around the office and whatever too, right? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, you got it, and just put it all kinds of places. And you know what? It doesn't hurt at all. It does not hurt at all. In fact, and by saying that, I'm telling you, do this. Put it where customers can see it too. Can't hurt anything. Okay. There's only one boss, and whether a person shines shoes for a living or heads up the biggest corporation in the world, the boss remains the same, the customer. She is the person who pays everyone's salary and who decides whether a business is going to succeed or fail. She doesn't care if a business has been around for 100 years. The minute it starts treating her badly or taking her for granted, she'll put it out of business. The boss, the customer, has bought and will buy everything you have or will have. She's bought all of your clothes, your home, your car, pays for your children's education and your vacation. She pays all of your bills, and she pays in exact proportion to the way you treat her. The man who works inside the big office building or plant might think he works for the company that writes his paycheck, but he doesn't. He is working for the person who buys the product at the end of the line. In fact, the customer can fire everybody in the company from the president on down, and she can do it simply by spending her money somewhere else. Some of the largest companies that had flourishing businesses a few years ago are no longer in existence. They couldn't or didn't satisfy the customer. They forgot who the boss really is. Share that with your team and do the things you need to do to reinforce that every day in your business, and you're going to be one of those businesses that uses that sling that David used, and you're going to take down those Goliaths. Real quickly, do you have any I do want to make sure that we are aware of the time here, but Rolf, and I know I'm not that quickly. I want you to make sure that you can give it a story if you do have it. Do you have any memorable moment about customer service and someone delivering it in your business?
I do, but actually before I do that, I would just like to go back to what you just said about that whole the boss statement. We actually have taken that and we put it on every single team member's paycheck. On their stub, it prints, courtesy of the boss, your clients.
Good idea.
And that just shows you how you can reinforce that idea everywhere. But literally one of the things I tell them up front is I don't ever pay you. I've never once taken $1 out of my personal bank account and paid anyone. It all comes from the customer. It all comes from the register. The boss is the one who pays you, not me.
Yeah, and I think you shared that with me a number of years ago, that and you put that courtesy of the boss, our customer, and we started doing that a number of years ago on our pay stubs too. So thanks for that. Did you have any other?
One of the cool things of having a group that actually focuses on customer service is you can share ideas back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Any memorable moment?
I do. I think the important thing with customer service is it's never the big stuff. It's the little stuff. As you talk about, it's all the 1% stuff we do. It's not the giant breakthroughs. And I once received a 4-page typed letter that was from a mom who had a child with autism that was in the store. And her son was in and had a meltdown. And she was just amazed that our team was supportive and accepting. and offered to help in any way they could. And she just couldn't say enough about how grateful she was that they reacted the way they did versus the way other businesses she had been in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because they were trained that they're the boss. And these are teenagers and college students in the evening when there really are no so-called adults in the store. And that will always stand out in my mind.
Yeah.
The other thing that's always amazing is how many of our team members come back. We've been around for 68 years, so we have a lot of people that come back that have worked here. And they tell us that even to this day, they use the customer service training we gave them in their current jobs.
Yeah, and you know what? I tell people all the time, people love to work in businesses where they give exceptional customer service and they're taught to give it, and they know that's the expectation. People love to work in those type of businesses, and that's one of the reasons that we've recently, in the last for a number of reasons, we had 3 positions that turned over in the last 6 months or whatever. All 3 of those were filled by referrals from other team members in our business, because they're like, I love working there, and I love being able to give great customer service, and that's, I'm sure, one of the big reasons you get the kids coming back year after year, Rolf, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we talked about, well, you can't hire good help. Well, Rolf, you're hiring teenagers, and yet you're teaching them customer service, and you've got great helpers, I'm sure. Boomer, how about one memorable moment or some memorable moment in your business?
Well, fortunately, as I sit here, I'm thinking of a bunch of things that happened. But just the other day, probably 2 weeks ago, one of my lot people, helping park cars, and they're out there to say, remember your binoculars and put your footwear on and bring, dress warm, those kinds of things. Well, apparently a fifth wheel, some people from California were pulling through and had a flat tire, and come to find out, he didn't have a lug nut wrench to be able to change the tire. Well, I got a call on our walkie-talkies and informed me that what was going on, and I said, well, please take care of it. What do you need? And he said, well, can I head downstairs to get a lug wrench? And I said, sure. So anyway, he went downstairs, went up. They had called AAA or the local people, and they said it was going to be 2 hours because we're kind of in the middle of nowhere here. Yeah. And he said, well, I said, well, no, we'll take care of it. And so I talked to the young man, and he said, I can change the tire, Boomer, no problem at all. I said, okay, go ahead and do it. So he changed the tire, and we're not in the changing tire business, but he changed the tire, got the people, gave them the lug wrench that we had. It was only like $5, big deal, and gave them it and sent them on their way. And I'll tell you this, everywhere they stopped, going all the way up the coast into Washington, we heard about, because people came and stopped and said, we heard you changed the tire for some people, wow. And so, it's just something that you said a long time ago, that when you do something customer service-wise and then some.
Yeah, good. And then some. I love it. That's one of our new, I told you that out Nordstrom was no longer one of our 3 things to remember. One of the 3 now is and then some. So if you do what's expected and then some, whether it's this is a great thing to share with all of your team in regards to customer service and anything they do in the job, is if you do, and share it with your kids also. That's a great thing to share with your kids. If you do what you're supposed to do and then some, life is always going to be easy for you. I mean, life is going to be easy for you. If you did what you're supposed to do and then some when it came to cleaning your room before you could go out and play, if you did what mom thought you thought mom wanted and then some, you got to go out and play pretty darn quick. If you got into school and did what you were supposed to do for assignment and then some, you probably did pretty well. If you went to work, there's probably a lot of and then some people on this call right now, frankly. When you went to work and you did what you're supposed to do and then some, you ended up being the manager, the superintendent, the owner of the business, whatever it is. If you did and then some, you did pretty darn good. And that's, again, one of the things that we teach in this, so that's great. And as far as introducing you to the system, to your team, I'm assuming that I'll just go through this because we're running into. I want to try to get off of this in about an hour for people listening in, and I'm assuming that you both had your meeting when you first got the system. Had your meeting with everybody involved. Is that right?
Yes.
Boomer, you too.
Yeah. We had 4 separate. We did it a month long, and I met every Wednesday in the morning, and I brought in donuts and those kinds of things, and we met an hour before we normally opened, and just went through and spent an hour each day talking about the various things that we needed to do in the future and how to work with people and Lear and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we spent about 4 hours, and then we got together, and when we were all done, then we had a 2-hour evening meeting and really got into some things that a little bit further than normal. So yeah, we spent about 6 hours.
Wow, so everybody went through 6 hours?
Oh yeah, everybody. Oh, wow. And my thought is now too that after this year, I think we're doing well, but I think my people need a little more refresher, and I think we'll probably go through and do something like that this winter and just have them refocus.
So if you're doing it in the winter, you're doing it with your year-round team, right?
Correct.
You have a much bigger team in the summer.
Yes, yeah, I have 14 full-time people, and during the summer months I'll have up to 40.
Yeah, okay. What do you do with those summer month people as far as teaching them this?
Oh, well, normally a lot of them I have high school kids and college kids. The college kids are for the most part returnees. I have about 15 or so that come back, every year, and then the high school kids I have about 15 of those or so. So I kind of bring them in together at the beginning of right around graduation time or after spring vacation. I'll bring them in like 6 or 8 at a time and plop them down for it's a 3-day program. That I do about 2 hours, 3 days in a row, and then at the end of the 3rd day, then my managers, supervisors come in and we evaluate them as to do they fit? Are they going to be able to do the job?
Okay, so you're doing much more than customer service training in that. It's not just going through our system. That's doing some of the other training and whatever.
Yeah, it's doing it all. Counting money and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So, and the customer service, Rolf, is I'm assuming that the customer service is basically bringing them in, watching what do you do when it comes to the customer service training itself?
Well, I do literally exactly what you taught me to do 10 years ago. So we bring them in the very first day, the very first thing they do, and I still do this personally one-on-one, although I do not need to, but I take them through, and it's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That also includes our history and several other things that we kind of put in there. But we just sit, we watch the video, and then we have an extended conversation about customer service and so on.
Okay, good.
And we actually go back, and everyone does it every year. We do require that. So oftentimes you'll have a new hire with one of my team members or 3 of my team members, and I think that emphasizes how important it is.
Yep, we did it in an hour. I mean, the customer service itself, the customer service training by itself, without doing some of the other background of the company and everything else, is designed to be able to go through it in about an hour. And we just did that, frankly, with our entire team. We did it in 2 meetings of an hour long each. And just refresh that with everyone here just recently. And the reason we did it in 2 separate meetings is that so that we could make sure we were taking care of our customers while we were doing our customer service meeting. We didn't want to close down in order to do it in the middle of the day. So let's talk a little bit about how do you train for and then consistently deliver out Nordstrom customer service. Well, as you may think is true, I do have a training system for you to use in your business to do the same kind of thing that Rolf and Boomer do in their business, we do in our business, and literally hundreds of other people around the country are now doing in their business. And the system starts out with a fast start guide and a CD. The CD is audio of me walking you through the fast start guide, basically. And that's what that looks like. There's your audio CD and your fast start guide. Next, you get Out Nordstrom Customer Service Training DVD and the tools. So what you get here is the DVD training that they actually sit down and watch. Now, what you're going to want to do when you first start this with your team is get your entire team together, have a meeting, sit down and watch the DVD. You have the leader's guide, the workbook, and in the leader's guide, it takes you through step by step exactly what to do and what to say if you want to, word by word if you want, of how you introduce then Out Nordstrom customer service to your team. There's also the Out Nordstrom training workbook, and what you want to do is those are word for word, just fill in the blanks as they're watching the DVD to make sure they're paying attention and watching, and it also gives you some discussion things to make sure they've written down some things to discuss after you have this meeting. And so you have this meeting with your whole team, you set your guidelines, you get the expectations down, and then you go out and kill it with customer service. Now, what's critically important, this is a little picture of one of the DVDs. This is one of our customers here locally that is great at customer service, McClendon's Hardware, and we kind of featured them in the DVD training. And then you have the new employee Out Nordstrom customer service DVD. We want to make sure that every single employee team member gets the exact same training. So this DVD is exactly the same as the other one, except for there's a different opening. The opening says something like, "Welcome to our company. We know that you're our next customer service superstar. And the reason we know you're our next customer service superstars is that we only hire people who, da-da-da." And it talks about how you actually picked them and chose them as a customer service superstar. But then it gets into the exact same training that was up above in the DVD, again with the leader's guide and the workbook and the answer key. And then the ongoing training guidelines. What's really critical is that you have ongoing training, you have ongoing reminders, and you get all of that in the system. And along with that, you get 3 months of my Inner Circle membership for free. Now, what's the Inner Circle membership? For your team, and you can continue with this Inner Circle membership afterwards, or you can drop it, but for 3 months you'll get it. It'll give you ideas of what you could do for ongoing training, but for the 3 months, you'll get the inspirational thought of the day, and that's the daily checkup from the neck up, if you will, this inspirational thought that you get via email, and then you simply distribute that inspirational thought to your entire team every day. You'll get a customer service tidbit delivered every Monday morning, which is a customer service idea, vignette, directed to your team to remind them of the kind of customer service they should get. And again, it's critical that you reinforce this stuff. So every week you get that to share with your team. And because people learn differently, you also get a very short customer service newsletter. It's just 2 pages, but it gives some ideas, some stories, some kind of vignettes, if you will, about customer service. It's designed to be read in just a few minutes so that this doesn't take a lot of your time, doesn't take a lot of your people's time either. And then you'll get a monthly online DVD training video. Now, this is only 1 to 3 minutes again. Every educator will tell you that the best education, well, Bromer, you're an educator, yep. will tell you that the best type of education is consistent and persistent and short versus one long drawn out thing and no reinforcement down the road. Does that kind of match what you guys know in education, Boomer?
Absolutely, absolutely. You think about the children, you think of their age, and that's how long you have to convince them to do whatever you want them to do.
Yeah, okay, good enough. And so, you know, these are short little trainings. You get 2 of them per month, and you can either put it in your back room, put it in the DVD and ask them to watch it, or direct them to the online and have them watch it. I suggest that you have them watch it and then write back to you and tell them an idea that you got out of that video this time. And that's for your team. Now, for your managers and you need a little bit different stuff. So you get your customer service training weekly. You get that on Tuesdays in a very short email, again, 1 to 3 minutes. It usually reinforces what you got the previous day for your team. It also tells you what you should be doing as a manager, what your other managers should be doing. You get a little bit longer newsletter once a month. Instead of 2 pages, it's 4 pages. Again, a lot of customer service stories. People remember stories. So I like to share stories that you can remember, your managers can remember, and I'll probably use that story from Boomer here in one of these about changing that tire here one of these times pretty soon. Or Rolf's story about the mom with the child with autism and how thankful she was that the team really showed some empathy in that case. That was a fabulous story. And then you get a different video. Again, it's only 1 to 3 minutes. The manager's video may be a little bit longer, but 1 to 3 minutes. And again, saying what you should be doing as a manager to reinforce this customer service training. And that's delivered via USPS with a DVD or on the web. Your people can go look at it. And so that's the entire system that you get. It has a double guarantee. If you don't like it for any reason whatsoever, the binder cover clashes with the books in your bookcase, return it for a full, no questions asked refund anytime within the first year. And here's the second guarantee. If you actually do anything to implement even one little thing in the system and you want to return it, you can return it anytime for a full refund. So that's a double guarantee. You got nothing to lose here. If you don't like it, just send it back. The value of that is $898, $697 for the training system itself, and $201 for the 3-month membership. Again, after the 3 months, you can either continue it at $67 a month if you think it's worth it to train your entire team to spend $67 a month, or you can drop it and if you wish. And the value of that is $898. I got a question for you before I go. You're not going to pay anywhere near that, by the way. Boomer, how many people would you guess in the 6 years you've trained into the customer service system? I just thought of this.
Oh, wow. Probably
just a wild
300.
300. And Rolf, over the years that you've had it, guess?
100 at least.
Okay, 100. So the price for you guys here today is $397. So what that means is that for Boomer, this training costs him, the entire kit here, the entire system, cost him a little over $1 per person to train. In Rolf's case, it cost him about $4 per person to train. Can I ask you guys, did you get, Rolf, you paid more. You paid $4 per person almost. Did you get your value? Did you get your money out of it?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, good enough. Boomer?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you start thinking about it, what's a customer worth, Keith?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and you know, and it's certainly worth a lot more than those numbers, I would guess. I hope you know, one of the reasons I love to talk about out Nordstrom customer service and this too is that people feel better. Managers feel better about their jobs. People working feel better about their jobs. Your customers feel better about things, and one of the things that I just absolutely love about talking about this and talking to people like Boomer and Rolf, as you guys probably heard here, is that you always have these stories. And when you tell them, you know, Rolf will say, "Oh, I'm writing down this stuff," and you got a smile on your face because you're thinking, "Yeah, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what it's like." Any last words from you, Rolf, or Boomer? And then if you've asked any questions, I am going to ask Jonathan here to ask me those also. So we're kind of done right now, but if you want to order, go to outnordstrom.com and order. And I'll make sure that you get your book, whether you order or not. I'll make sure you get your book and make sure you get the Who's the Boss. And Rolf, thanks for being here. Any last comments at all?
I just think that the value that's in the membership is pretty amazing. You'd asked me how much of it we were using prior to this phone call, and I think Chrissy and I have gone back and re-looked at it and said, holy cow, why aren't we using more of this? And in fact, we looked through the newsletter and made sure everyone got it and they got the email tidbit, and instances for both of those things have come up already this week where we're able to use them for learning. So it truly is amazing the value that you're giving in that monthly membership.
Yeah, well, thanks. And again, for those of you on the call, after the three, take a look at it. If you like it, continue. If you don't like it, don't continue. Boomer, any last question? Any last comment?
Just one comment, because I know Rolf mentioned the Lear thing, and that's really vital to be able to teach your people. If there's nothing else in your information that people use, that's the one thing they really need to train your people in. And I refocus that or reinforce that with something that I was told a long time ago, because some people, that 1% or half of 1%, can really be difficult people, and they come back to me and say, I did the best I could, and still they weren't happy. And here's what I tell them. I said, treat everyone with politeness, even those that are rude to you, no matter, not because they are nice, but because you are.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Wonderful. Hey, Jonathan, any questions there that you got that you'd like to, that we didn't go over, that we didn't address?
Yeah, we do have quite a few questions so far.
Okay, good enough.
One is on the system itself. Jeff wants to know, does this include information on how to set policies?
It includes information on how to set customer service policies without question. It's not a big management system, if you will. If you want a management system, I have that too, but it certainly does when it comes to customer service. Now, it also tells you that we don't really have any policies. We have guidelines, and one of the reasons, we have a couple policies. We have, in my business now, and I'm not telling you you have to do this in your business, but our policy is basically do this exactly like it says unless it doesn't take care of the customer. If it doesn't take care of the customer, do what you need to do to take care of the customer, and then change this to what we need. So yeah, we have policies, we have things, it does cover a lot of those things that you should have in your business, but it also says if it doesn't work, the top line policy is to take care of the client. Now, the other thing that we tell our people, the same thing I think Boomer was saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Boomer, is that you do what you think is right, and you'll never get in trouble. I may come back and say, well, let's maybe do it this way next time, but you'll never get in trouble. And in fact,
absolutely. Customer service is an attitude. It's not a department or a policy.
Yeah, good. I love that. I mean, I love talking to you and Rolf, and it's because it's like the same thing. I mean, I've had people tell us we need a customer service department. I said everybody's customer service. We don't need a customer service department.
We're all in the customer service department.
You know what? The best thing I want is for my sales reps to have to take care of customer service issues. I want that, because I want to make sure that the customer knows exactly what to expect from day one, so that that we don't have sales reps. We would never have it in our business, because for one thing, sales reps have to take care of the issues. So yeah, customer service is not a department. I love it. What else do you have there, Jonathan?
Great. Yeah, this next one is from Dan. He asks, it is our goal to greet every customer when they enter the store, and to ideally personally welcome them to our business and be a friendly aid to them without pestering. How do you handle overloaded customer service scenarios?
I don't know that there's any great secret to that. Other than trying to make sure your team at least recognizes that the person is waiting. And some people have a real hard time doing that. And I'm not saying that they're bad people by any means. Some people are maybe just so focused on what they're taking care of and focused on that person, which is part of the communication that Boomer was talking about. That you don't listen. You listen to people to comprehend. You don't listen to come up with what you're going to say next. They may be those kind of people that are comprehending so well so that they can't see what's going on around them so much. But, you know, that customer service where you've got just so many people in the store or so many people in front of you, whatever the case may be, that it's a bit overwhelming. You know, the biggest thing that I see that people do well there is give some kind of acknowledgement, and it doesn't need to be verbal in some cases. It could just be a nod of the head, a point that I see you there, that type of thing. Rolf or Boomer, do you have anything to add there?
I can. What I tell people is that if people don't mind waiting in line, if the service they get at the end and they're watching other people get is superb, because they want that. I think what gets ugly is when people start rushing and cutting corners, and then everyone gets restless because no one wants to wait to be treated poorly. People will wait to be treated royally.
I love it. People will be treated royally. I've got a lot of, I got to listen to this again. I've got a lot of things to take out of this. Boomer, anything to add?
Well, you know, it has to do with patience too. You know, years ago, my first parent-teacher conference, okay, I'm sitting there, I'm 24 years old, I'm ready to go, I've got all my stuff, and I've got 15 minutes, and I've got to be a Gatling gun to be able to get this stuff. Lady walks in, and you know, I say, you're you know, he's kind of a squirrel. I go, you have a wonderful child. She immediately busts into crocodile tears, sobbing as she's sitting down in my chair, proceeds to tell me about her recent hysterectomy and her divorce of her deadbeat husband. She goes on about this for 14 and a half minutes. She stands up with a big sigh, goes, leans over and kisses me and says, I'm the best teacher her son has ever had, and walks out.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So again, a lot of it has to do with taking the time to actually listen to people. As Rolf said, give them the best service you can, but it's okay to acknowledge those people behind them. People will stand in line if they know that they're getting good service. That's the main thing. I agree with Rolf.
Yeah, and that whole thing of listening, you know, Dale Carnegie talks about it a lot in his books, and about the whole idea that, you know, you could say almost no words in a conversation of a half an hour or whatever, or you can be for whatever length of time with somebody, and they'll leave saying you're the best conversationalist in the world if you just listen.
Yeah.
You know, and then maybe ask some questions about them, about the other person. You know, that's fabulous. Another question, Jonathan, anything else out there?
Yeah, this one's from Lonnie. He asks, what are some statistics or keys to great customer service in a tourist-based retail market? And
That's
kind of asking how this plays out in a tourist-type setting.
It is absolutely, I can tell you this one for sure, it makes absolutely no difference whether you're in a tourist-based business or if you're an insurance agent or whether you're a dentist, whether it makes, Boomer?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. There's no difference. You greet people when they come in. You meet their needs. You know, for us, you know, you start thinking about your clients. Okay, who are they? Okay, and what do they need? What do tourists need when they come into a business? Okay, we really think about those kinds of things. Okay, they're traveling, so obviously they're not going to buy a 4-foot by 6-foot picture. You know, they can't put it in their motorhome or their car. So what do they need? Well, they need snacks, they need water, they need clean bathrooms, they need a phone call or charging. You know, we look at those things and say, what does our clientele need when they come in here? Yeah, we are Sea Lion Caves, and there's no other place like this in the entire world, and we want people to go down to visit. But there are other needs for people coming through here, and we want to do that. So whether you're a tourist or you go see Rolf, you know, and he needs art supplies, you know what your customer is, and those are the products that you provide for them and the services you provide for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's the same. The same principles, the same ideas, the same tactics. I hate that word, but I'll use it. All work the same. Makes no difference whatsoever. Jonathan.
Yeah, very cool. This next question is kind of dealing with the idea of referrals and how your customers will tell others about you. Rana asks, Dear Keith, do you think it is appropriate to ask our regulars to let their friends know about our store?
certainly. Absolutely. And in fact, I think that it's pretty well critical to have a referral system in place. It does not need to be as overt necessarily as you know, the insurance salesman who asks you to give them 3 names and write them down. Although I've seen that work in retail also very well. Bill Glazier did that often. Now, he had a high-end menswear store, so they were doing a bit more service, if you will, than somebody coming in and just buying something and leaving, or whatever the case may be. You know, they're tailoring suits and whatever, but he had a very, very sophisticated referral program. Rolf, what do you're in that, what do you think about that?
I think that it really depends on when you do the ask. It needs to be done at the right time. It needs to be when they've been totally wowed and they're telling you about how great it is.
Yeah.
Timing is everything in that, I believe.
I agree. Well, what happens to us is I have my business cards sitting out on the desk, and when somebody says, boy, this has been a wonderful time, we hand them the card, and this is what I have on the back of my business card. Thank you for visiting Sea Lion Caves and letting us know you enjoyed your visit. We would appreciate if you would share your positive experience with others on TripAdvisor.com and on Facebook about Sea Lion Caves. Thank you for your support and our efforts to continue to protect and preserve this exceptional natural resource for future generations.
Can take, who's ever out there listening can take that and tweak it to work in your business, regardless of your business. Regardless of your business, you can take that and tweak it in your business. Rolf, I know you get all kinds of reviews online and whatever. You mentioned that to me when we talked here a few months ago.
Yeah, we do it. We actually survey our clients. If you once a month, if you've come in and spent $15, that right after you've been in, we send you a survey electronically. And in that, we get great feedback, which we share with our team members every day. So it's kind of like the survey, although I think, or the suggestion box.
Right.
And in that, we do offer them the opportunity to click a button and go online and post a review. So we have like 108 reviews in Google and a 4.8 rating.
Yeah, wow.
Which I think is pretty amazing for a
Yeah, good for you.
You can go to Gerald's, just Google Gerald's Ellensburg, and you can click on it and see it yourself.
Yeah, Gerald's and Gerald's Ellensburg and Gerald's.com and Sea Lion Caves. By the way, I should be giving you guys a plug here. So, by the way, and Sea Lion Caves is, I guess, what is the website there?
SeaLionCaves.com.
Yeah, good. Jonathan, any more questions?
That's all I have for now.
Good enough. Rolf and Boomer, thank you so much for coming and staying. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here, and go to outnordstrom.com to order the system, and if you're listening to me right now, you're also going to get our free book. So thanks so much. Take care. Rolf and Boomer, thanks again. Goodbye.
You bet. Hey, Rolf, next time up, I'm going to stop by. Have that coffee ready.
Yeah, please do. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good enough. Thank you, gentlemen.